Ida for getting mad and demanding my husband come home. Yesterday I went to a big, out-of-town event with my 8-month-old baby. My husband stayed home and to my knowledge was just going to do some house stuff and go to a family lunch. I told him we'd be home by dinner time, which for us is around 5:36 p.m. and that once I got home it would probably be a whirlwind of dinner, bath, bed for the baby. I make dinner during the week and he makes dinner on weekends. I got home 5:10 and he wasn't home. Baby had been screaming for the last 30 minutes of the drive. I was tired and pretty high-strung. When I called my husband I had to scream, "Where are you?" to be heard over the screaming baby. It would have come across as aggressive, but I wasn't mad at this point. Husband said he was out drinking with a friend. I asked him why he was at a bar on a Sunday evening. He said he thought I wouldn't be home until after dinner. He'd apparently misheard me. This is when I got mad. I snapped at him, asking why he'd think he'd keep the baby out until after dinner on a Sunday. I told him to come home ASAP. He said he wasn't intending to come home for another 2 hours and that I should have messaged when I was leaving the event. I said I didn't message because I had my hands full and I expected him to get the first bus home. He eventually agreed to be home by 6:30. 6:30 passes and he's not home. I call again and he says he's still at the bar. I lost my absolute shit, saying that I was waiting for him to come home to help fix the baby something to eat, but now the baby will have to go to bed without a proper meal or bath. He said I was acting psychotic, to give the baby pouch food, and that the baby didn't need a bath. He said he didn't want to come home because I was acting hostile, and he didn't want to be around me. I told him to forget about me and that he needs to come home because he has an obligation to help take care of his son. Husband comes home at 8 p.m. after baby is asleep. I asked him this morning why he thought it was cool to refuse to come home and leave me to tend to the baby alone after being with the baby alone all day. He said he didn't know we'd be home that early. I said sorry for not messaging that we were leaving event and asked why he didn't come home once he found out he'd misunderstood. He said me being rude on the phone made him not want to come home. I think I'm an off for being stressed out, but I think he's an off for using that as an excuse to not fulfill his parental duties. So am I an off for getting mad? Added I fed the baby. The baby usually eats what we eat. We use pouched food for flavor padding. It's an agreement between us that he makes dinner on the weekends. He didn't make dinner or arrange with me in advance to make dinner, so the baby only had the pouched food and breast milk. When I say the baby didn't have a proper dinner, I mean a home-cooked one. The baby definitely still had plenty to eat, just not the kind of meal we would usually give him. Added to him not being home when he says he will and generally not fulfilling commitments is a pattern of behavior for him. This is the most recent occurrence of many. Update: when my husband got home today I told him I did a lot of crying over last night's situation and said I was sorry for blowing up at him, and that I was tired and stressed and was expecting him to be home to help make dinner as per our arrangement. I told him that I'm happy for him to go out at night every now and then, but he needs to tell me in advance and be accountable for his responsibilities. I said I would try and not react to these situations so strongly, but also that I'd prefer they not occur at all, that he should put his prior commitments to his family first. He agreed that once he realized he misunderstood me he should have come home and that it was childish for him to stay out and leave me alone with the baby out of spite. Tifu by taking a DNA test. Been debating on posting about this for a while but decided to share the story with some details omitted for my own sanity and protection. A lot of this details are murky because I'm not 100% certain of my family tree nor the other's family tree. I'm going to preface this by saying this sounds unreal and I can't quite believe it either. About 3 years ago, I 20M and my family went on vacation. While on vacation we met up with some of my family's friends. We found these friends through one of them, I'll call her T, who grew up in the same small town as my mom. My mom met T's immediate family and they quickly became close friends. T was just like my mom, and they had a lot in common. While we had met her immediate family, this trip was with T's sister's family. One of them, 22M, I'll call him E. Not sure on how they are related to T's sister, but it's very close, probably cousin or nephew. Caught my eye and we started talking. We had a lot in common and things started to get a bit flirty whenever we were alone. We ended up hooking up. It was amazing and I even told a few friends about it. We got along really well and kept in touch. I've heard a lot about DNA tests and always wanted to try it because I didn't know a lot about my mom's side of the family. We still aren't sure who her dad is. I decided to take a DNA test out of curiosity and it showed me that me and D are related through his uncle. I'm assuming that my grandma had an affair with D's dad. My grandma constantly had affairs, hence the unknown grandpa, and had my mom. While I want to know more about how closely related we are, I'm disgusted at the thought of bad results. At this point I'd rather never know. The worst part of all of this is I finally found out a huge part of my family tree and can't tell anyone because of the people who know about me and I obviously haven't told anyone and don't think I'll be risking it. Ignorance is bliss. Curiosity did in fact kill the cat. TLDR: met a friend's family, hooked up with one of their relatives, took a DNA test. We're related. What's something completely insane your parents did that you only understood how messed up it is when you became older? My mom wouldn't allow me to dress myself until I was a senior in high school. Every time I tried to choose my own shirt or pants, she would tell me to go put something else on, then repeat it, and then start an argument where I would just get emotionally exhausted or start to feel guilty for disobeying my mom and go put on what she wanted. All the way until senior year of high school. I'm 25 now and never understood just how emasculating that was and how low it would make me feel. Tifu by sitting in bed next to my sleeping husband. Sorry if the formatting is weird, I'm on mobile. I want to preface this by saying I love my husband dearly. He is sweet, silly, and romantic, and honestly the best thing that's ever happened to me. My husband is what I like to call an active sleeper, meaning he tosses and turns a lot while he's sleeping. I've woken up a handful of times from a good kick to my shin or a hand shoved in my face. I can't lay in bed and hold my phone while facing him because every time I do he either grabs it and yoinks it away or he shoves his hand out and knocks my phone into my face. He also a tendency to talk in his sleep, saying things like, "Walk over to the taco in San Jose," or shouting, "Not for fire control," before rolling over and mumbling under his breath trying to be cool. One time I was up at 3 a.m. thanks insomnia and he said, "I love this guy, he's so hot. And those titties. Damn." He said he couldn't remember what he was dreaming about when I asked him in the morning. I imagine he was having a wet dream about Dwayne Johnson. I tend to wake up much earlier than him. He's a night owl. And I'm usually awake by 6 a.m. so I catch a lot of these moments. He also farts a lot in the morning while he's still asleep. And he's very cuddly. Sometimes he just scoots his butt right up next to me while he's sleeping and then gasses me for the next 10 minutes. Anyway, on to the FU. So earlier this morning I'm minding my business, sitting in bed and journaling on the iPad like usual when I hear him start mumbling in his sleep. I turned and leaned in a bit to try to hear what he was saying when he threw out his arms as far as he could under a heavy blanket and rolled over quite suddenly. His fist, which he seemed to be trying to push through the duvet, slammed against my forehead. I leaned back, feeling a bit like a mole at the arcade, and yelped "ow," to which he replied by rolling over and farting in my direction. He is still struggling sleeping next to me and I can't wait to tell him about this when he wakes up. DLDR, my sleeping husband played whack-a-mole with my face and then farted at me. Well, this got a lot of attention. Thank you kind strangers for the awards and the upvotes. I hope reading this story made your day a little better, as reading your responses have definitely brightened mine. I'll try to respond to as many of you as I can. Also, yes, my husband has sleep issues. We're working on getting him set up with what he needs. Thank you for your concern. Ida, for refusing to pay for my daughter's wedding because she won't let me walk her down the aisle. I'm a 48-year-old man and my 19-year-old daughter has always been an independent thinker. I raised her to be independent and think for herself, which I've always appreciated. However, we recently hit a bit of a snag. She got engaged and decided that she doesn't want me to walk her down the aisle at her wedding. She argues that her mother and I don't own her, therefore we have no right to give her away. I feel hurt by this because we never treated her like an object or piece of property. Rather, we've tried our best to provide her with a wonderful life. Her stance seems extreme to me, and despite discussions, she's refusing to budge on the issue. I respect her choices, but I feel she's disregarding our feelings completely. As a response, I told her that if she feels that way, then I won't be paying for her wedding. I don't want to come across as controlling or manipulative, but by her logic, if I don't own her, I also don't owe her a fully funded wedding. She can pay for her own wedding if she's insistent on this stance. I'm feeling quite conflicted about this. Ida, edit. So, this isn't about making the wedding about me. Walking her down the aisle while all eyes are on her anyway and then sitting down is hardly making the wedding about me. It's about her attitude. She's had every opportunity in life so far, and to exclude us from this day is a spit in the face. It's a rejection of everything we've done for her, sacrificed for her, given her. It's selfish. 90 of wedding traditions and symbolism had roots in things we don't acknowledge today. Should we stop all of them? The rings, the flowers, the dress, the wedding party, the cake, the flower girls. A father walking his daughter down the aisle has been about respect, pride, love and honoring the father-daughter relationship for far longer than it was about ownership. Independent thinking does not mean rude or selfish thinking. Being an independent thinker does not give someone a license to disregard or disrespect the thoughts, feelings, or perspectives of others. Independent thinking is about maintaining the ability to think critically and form one's own opinions while remaining respectful and considerate of others. It is a balance between asserting individuality and engaging in meaningful and respectful interactions with others. Edit 2. Also note that our relationship is not so weak that this disagreement will ruin our relationship. We are still close with each other in spite of this. There is zero chance of her not inviting us to her wedding regardless of who pays for it or cutting off contact and withholding grandchildren. I feel sorry for anyone who suggests that as a possibility. In life, people disagree even strongly. It's a natural part of life. We don't end lifelong relationships over it. Tifu by giving my BF head in my mom's bed. Wallowing in shame currently. She got a used sleep number bed put in today and everyone's been trying it out. We're super close, so she was cool with us going in there to watch TV and mess with the bed. But I had a serious lapse in judgment between being high and period horny and decided to start feeling him up a little bit and kissing him. It got a little heated and I ended up sliding his shorts down and I started to suck his dick. She was in the doorway probably 30 seconds later. She looked just as mortified as us, but she just motioned for us to get out and went back upstairs while we fucking sat there processing what the fuck just happened. We all just went to bed and didn't say anything, but I am dreading the morning. I am so ashamed and embarrassed. It actually just doesn't feel real and I cannot believe I did that. The most sobering experience I could ever think of. TLDR, mom walked in on me giving BF head in her bed. Feel fucking awful. Ida for not giving my son money to buy his own ticket. I took my 3 kids to the movies with my husband. When we arrived, my oldest, 15, said he wanted to watch a different movie than the rest of the family. I said that was fine, and we would meet him at the ice cream place across the street. His choice would start and end later. We started to split up, and then he said I forgot to give him money for a ticket. I asked why I would give him money for a ticket. He said he needs the money to buy his ticket. I said he could use his own money. He said that wasn't fair, because I was going to buy a ticket for him before. I said I was going to buy tickets for the whole family for a family outing. If he's doing his own thing, he needs to pay for it. He said he didn't want to pay and would just watch the same movie as the rest of us. He was grumpy afterwards, and my husband said I was petty. I don't think it's petty. I think it's a life lesson. People are more than piggy banks. Ida for not wanting to dedicate half my wedding to my fiance's sister. I 29F got engaged to my boyfriend, Peter 30M, in early 2023 and our wedding is scheduled for early 2024. Peter has a sister, Olivia, who's 15 and was recently diagnosed with leukemia. She's receiving chemotherapy and as far as I know, it's not terminal. One of Olivia's dreams in life is to get married. Ever since I've known her, she's talked about her future wedding and has planned every last detail. Since she got diagnosed, she's become very worried that she won't be able to have her dream wedding because she might pass before that happens. Based on what I know about her diagnosis, she'll likely survive and go on to live a full life, but it's a definite possibility she could die. Peter and I are currently in the wedding planning stage, and this is also where we might be the assholes. Peter's parents approached us a few days ago and asked if we would be willing to dedicate some of our wedding time to Olivia since she might not get one of her own. According to them, Olivia wants to wear a wedding dress, invite a lot of her friends, have a say in the food, cake decorations, and have a first dance with her boyfriend. They said it's better to do all this at me and Peter's wedding because then the family can celebrate all together. Peter and I were shocked that they would ask this since we thought that our wedding would be about us. I know Olivia is struggling and I feel completely awful for her since no teenager should have their youth ruined by cancer, but I don't see why we can't have a separate party for Olivia instead of having to dedicate half our day to her, especially since she would likely get most of the attention due to her condition. Additionally, it would cost a lot more money to have to pay for Olivia's friends to attend the wedding. Peter's parents only offered to pay for 75% of the additional cost and Peter and I aren't made of money. Peter and I told Peter's parents we would think about it, but after discussing it, we decided it would be better to say no because we'd prefer our day to be about us. But we'd be more than willing to pitch in funds and help plan a separate party for Olivia. But when we informed Peter's parents, they were furious. They said they couldn't believe we were prioritizing ourselves over a child with cancer and that we were being selfish. They said this might be Olivia's only chance for a wedding and how dare we deny her dying wish. I said I didn't understand why we couldn't have a separate party, but Peter's parents said they wanted it to feel authentic for Olivia, so it would be better to do it at an actual wedding. When they started raising their voices, Peter and I left, but since then Peter's family has been spamming us with messages about how terrible we're being to Olivia and how they can't believe we're not being considerate of her wishes. Peter and I both frequent this sub, so we wanted to know what the internet thinks. Are we being unreasonable here? Ida for letting my daughter be kicked out of a wedding since she wasn't modest enough. My daughter is 18. Emma. Before she turned 18 we had a rule that I could ask them to change if the outfit wasn't appropriate. Rarely happened because I truly didn't care as long as the main parts were covered. Now when they turned 18, they are an adult and most of the house rules didn't really apply. We were invited to a wedding to a close friend. My daughter is friend with her daughter and I am friends with the mother. They are religious, I know this. And she knows this. It was a church and the invite said modest, no cleavage, knee length and so on. I didn't expect anything else. Well, a few weeks ago Emma showed what dress she was going to wear and I mentioned that it won't work. The dress was cute but strapless. I thought she would change it but didn't. So on the day of the wedding she wore that. I even commented that it won't work again. She said it will be fine. Well, we get there and her friend's brother stopped her at the door, She tried to argue but got kicked out. I still went to the wedding. I got home today and she called me and asked for not defending her and staying at the wedding with their old school dress code. Ida for kicking everyone out of my party. My wife has been depressed lately, losing her well-paying job in November of last year. Her unemployment ran out and she's now an assistant manager at a fast food place. She had a 3-phase interview for a job last week and didn't get picked at the end of it after almost a 2-month process. We decided to go through and host our 4th of July barbecue and pool party. My brother is a jackass and my parents enable him. My wife and I has her degree on our living room wall. My brother told her you might as well shred that experience piece of paper because it's doing you no good. My wife started crying and that's extremely out of character for her. She goes to the bedroom and locks herself in. My brother said it's a joke but I had enough and told everyone to go foo-ing home. The party is cancelled. My parents started arguing saying some people drove a few hours to be here and I said have the party at your place. I told everyone to grab whatever you came with and leave. It was about 20-25 people and my mom said I'm awful host and an embarrassment to my family and I said the same thing about my brother. He started it. So I made everything leave. I'm getting mixed text messages about either checking in on my wife or being asshole after kicking everyone out over one little comment my brother made.